All right, let's continue. Lyle mumbled under his breath as if talking into a headset. Enemy contact, stand by, mayday, mayday. Now you listen to me, Louise said in a low, threatening tone. Lyle's eyes went wild, and he stopped talking immediately. We know all about you here. Do not think we are playing the fools. You have been driving us all... Oh, I think she means business, Georgette whispered across the way to no one in particular. But I, for one, have had enough. Do you understand me, Lyle? Enough pineapples. You have driven me mad. You will not make me into a fruit salad. Now get off my back and do not ever again use me for a landing strip. Lyle hissed at her and jumped off her back. He dashed to the other side of the compound, and then he turned suddenly and faced her. You haven't seen the end of me, Toots, he shouted. No one talks to Lyle like that and gets away with it. You are not frightening me, Monsieur Bombsway, Louise yipped back. There was a sudden crash of thunder, which shook us all. No one spoke for a few seconds, and then there came a deep, rumbling sound. I thought at first it was more thunder. Then I realized it was coming from Lyle's direction. I looked at him. He was growling at Louise. From somewhere deep in his throat, he said, I don't like being cross, sister. Just watch out. He stared at her coolly, and Louise, momentarily stunned, stared back. She looked frightened, and I wondered for the first time if indeed there was reason for her to be. Chapter 4. The Storm Gathers. All at once, Louise broke into a rapid-fire attack of barking. I wanted to check out Max's reaction, but Harrison's voice startled the thought right out of me. What's going on in here? He asked, suddenly entering through the gate. Everyone froze. What's all this noise? Now calm down, or back into your bungalows you go. Jill appeared next to him, carrying a large bag of garbage. She was panting slightly. What was it? She asked. Oh, nothing. Just a dogfight, I guess, Harrison said. Dogfight, I thought. What a quaint expression. I wondered if people ever had dogfights. As Harrison and Jill turned to go, Jill tripped on the very rock I'd seen her trip over before. The bag of garbage flew out of her hand, spilling its contents all over the ground. Harrison jumped back as some of the debris landed on his shoe. What a clumsy oaf, he shouted. Can't you do anything right? Jill's face turned red. I could see tears coming to her eyes as she spoke. Well, aren't you Mr. Perfect all of a sudden? She asked, her voice quivering. If you weren't pushing me so hard, I wouldn't be like this in the first place. Maybe if you weren't like this in the first place, Harrison said, you wouldn't think I was pushing you so hard. Jill's mouth fell open. After a moment, she spoke. And maybe you'd like to work by yourself the rest of the day? Okay, Harrison replied. I'm sorry. Come on, let's forget about it and clean this up. Jill, sniffling back her tears, knelt in silence and began shoveling tin cans and bottles back into the plastic bag. I'm sorry too, she said. I'm just tired. It's not your fault. They finished their task in total silence. We all sat motionless, watching them. I guess people do have dog fights, I thought. Just before they went out the gate, Harrison turned back to us and said, Now keep it down in here. And once again we were left to ourselves. I turned to Max, but saw that he and Georgette had wandered off. Their heads were very close together. Taxi was watching them too, and seemed to be annoyed. When he noticed me looking at him, he said, "A fine thing," and walked away in a huff. Suddenly I found myself alone. I could feel that a light rain was beginning to fall, and a second crack of thunder announced that the storm was about to break again. Not knowing what else to do, I headed back to my bungalow in the hopes that Chester might be around to talk to.